Mr. Reinhardt.
I actually put my notes down in writing tonight. And this is a little bit long, so bear with me. Ladies and gentlemen of council, we're at a critical point as council of the city. There's a lot of discussion of fire fees, taxation, infrastructure improvements, and projects need to be done. As we sit here and contemplate the raising of taxes by installing a fire fee, I would like to bring to light our past failures, so we don't make the same mistake twice. The economics of a city are complicated. General funds, enterprise funds, impact fee funds, sales or road tax fees, each fund goes to a different spot. And if St. Cloud, if you break down the square foot by the ad valorem tax, 89% of it's residential, 7% of it's commercial, 7% of it's commercial, 2% is industrial, and 2% institutional. Commercial and industrial are the leading taxpayers per square foot in this city at 7% and 2%, adding up to 9%, paying 40% of the taxes. A city cannot sustain itself on a residential parcels. It is not possible. Residential land almost adds almost as much service load to the city budget as it brings in taxes. Commercial, on the other hand, uses much less services. A healthy ratio of business to residential is 70% residential, 30% commercial. As you can see, we've got a long ways to go. My fellow council, we have a fatal flaw. We here in St. Cloud have treated business unfairly, and I'm one of them. To say that they've been mistreated might be a severe understatement. Since businesses have not voted here on this council for a long time, they have been severely overlooked. This has caught up with us. At this point in time, as we look at doing the fire fee, basically, from my perception, and my perception only, the past councils have bought the residents' votes by levying taxes against businesses. And the problem is simple. If you go on with the fire fee, and we put on a mammoth fire fee, and basically in some cases you're doubling, if not tripling taxes, we are going to cut our throats. We're going to kick the can a little bit farther down the road, and somewhere down the line, we will eat up that fire fee. We've got to push forward and bring in commercial business. So, economic development is our goal. We all agreed on this in February. No one is exempt from this. Council needs to get involved as much as the citizens, as much as everyone in this room. Folks, we need commercial. When businesses want help, they talk to the top people, and that's why the council needs to be directly involved. Has anyone asked any other areas in our cities how they get involved with bringing business to town? It's mainly through your council or your elected officials. It's easy for one person to get involved with helping a business come to town, and that's just one of us. Don't involve more than one council person. Just that one person walks that business through, helps them with their paperwork, whatever they have to do to get in the city to move forward. Absolutely. St. Cloud has got many outdated, over-regulated ordinances. Recently, we are seeing some of them come forward to be removed. However, I believe we can do much better. But it is impossible for staff to do this clear, concise vision. Economic development does not come cheap, and you will not get it with a staffer making $40,000 a year. We've talked about it. We watched the GoPep go through. Those people are well in excess of $100,000 of a good quality economic-driven person. You hire the best economic staff, you pay the top pay, but if the vision and follow-through do not follow on that, you will not get anything done by that person.
Agreed.
I've sat on the council for 2 years. I own a business. I've felt the heavy hand of bad policy. That's why I'm up here. I have offered my expertise to the city. I've worked with the staff to develop new ordinances, build fee structures that support business expansion, because I know and fully understand the cost to do business and the cost to economically not to have a business located within our city. To quote one staff member, "I have never seen a council member with his ideas so quickly dismissed in the whole time they've been there." The ideas I brought forward were not open for discussion. There is a misguided idea that staff is supposed to do all the work when you sit on council. I disagree. And much to what, and I think these people in this room would disagree. I'm ready to roll my cuffs up and get into it. I believe staff and council are a team, and every teammate counts. Council to me is a passion. I didn't do this for me. I did it for my kids. I can honestly say there are very few items in the last 2 years that has made, I feel that I have made, that have made a difference. What I'm asking my fellow council members to do is engage. What we need to do is bring the city forward. Stop saying it's staff's responsibility, roll up our sleeves, and dive into it. We are the executive board of the corporation. I know we have good council members. We're a diverse group. We complement each other well. People are a product of their life experiences. I would not dare tell Rebecca about being law enforcement, Donnie a teacher, Russ on IT, or Dave on jewelry. We as council made economic growth our #1 goal at retreat. However, we gave no direction. I will not support the fire fee as it sits. Further damage to the city, to this business community by enacting this fee is the kiss of death to the city. I fully understand the ramifications of my decisions and take responsibility for my actions. However, I believe we need to expand our commercial base and take responsibility for our history. Passing on another fee is irresponsible. How do you attract new business with fees? I think before we take a vote on adding fees, we need to have a discussion about bringing the mobility fees forward, structured, that fit the needs of the city. Passing on a fee that doubles the taxes on business will crush the city and perpetuate higher taxes and fees that can no longer keep up with the services, thus passing the same issue on to another council at further date. We cannot and should not fee and tax what we fundamentally, as council in the past, have failed to do. It is simple. We need more commercial on the tax rolls, not more tax on the tax rolls. After 2 years of sitting in this council, it's been my privilege to work with Mr. Hurt. He has personally taught me a lot about government and seeing the other side of the fence. At this time, I firmly believe we were asking too much of Mr. Hurt. Going back to life experience, the skill sets needed to bring the city forward are just not here. We all know Mr. Hurt was planning retiring next year, and soon staff will be entering the budget process. I believe it is in the best interest of the city that we move forward immediately in the search for a new city manager. It would be tremendously unfair for the staff to build a budget and obligate a future city manager to abide by it. With this being said, I make a motion to relieve Mr. Hurt of his position as city manager and instruct Mr. Manzares to hire a headhunting firm to go find us a new city manager.
I'll second that.
Mr. Manzares.
Remind the council, you have a procedural policy that you adopted years ago where any item that is not on the agenda upon which the council is going to take official action, you need to vote to put it on the agenda for discussion. So before Mr. Reinhardt's motion can be considered, you need to have a motion to include the item on the agenda, second, and a vote. And that's the city's policy. It's been in place for about 12 years now.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion and put it on the agenda.
I'll second it.
Have a motion to place the relief of Mr. Hurt as the city manager on the agenda and by Mr. Reinhardt and a second by Mr. Askew. Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
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 Nay. The motion is 4-1.
Okay, so now you can have discussion
Now
or
we can have
action.
discussion.
Okay, I'd like to,
Go ahead. I was already looking at you. You were looking at me.
I was just kind of curious, what brought this on? I mean, you recommended him getting more than what I recommended for the pay raise, Jeff. And now, a few months later, you're recommending to get rid of him. I want to know on what grounds.
It's not the grounds, it's the fact that I've worked with, and I love working with Tom. What you're looking for is just not there. We need to move the city forward. We were talking about a fire fee, about doubling and tripling the tax on some of these people. That's foolishness.
Well, I was at that workshop and you were all for that. I'm lost now because I was trying to keep things reined in.
Let me go forward because my thoughts on the pay raise was this. I look forward to, and we knew that he was gonna be retiring and we'd be getting scrutinized by a new person to come here. And I think by being at the bottom of the barrel, I think that's the last place we want to be. I think that we need to be in the middle, which is contrary to what these people have, the information they received. It was 198 was the top pay, and Mr. Hurt was at the dead bottom. We brought him dead middle. That was the real numbers that we were provided for all the
Well, I think
cities.
the 140 was about the middle, if I remember correctly, and that's what I recommended. And I
Right.
recall y'all bumping that up, if I remember
Well,
correctly. I'll go
that's
back
correct.
and watch
That's
the
correct,
meeting.
that's correct.
Your point remains the same. I brought it up for the simple point because we're gonna have to bring the best here.
Now,
And,
see, I'm kind of curious now. Do you have somebody in mind?
no, I don't.
Okay.
That's why I instructed Mr. Manzares to go nationally to a headhunter and find somebody.
Well, I'm kind of on the feeling that you would probably be good to keep a city manager, and if we wanted to look, but I don't believe that, just relieving him and then having the city at this point in time, just without leadership. I mean, I'm just saying here, this is brought up all of a sudden. I'd like to think it through before we just make a rash decision in one night, just because of what you read here. And it's because of what I've witnessed in the last meetings and the workshops and that workshop down at Lakefront. I don't want to jump on anything here, Jeff, just because I've heard what you've said in other meetings and others up here. It's not just you. I just think that it needs to be thought out. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying it needs to be thought out.
I respect that, but I still call the vote.
Mr. Schroyer.
Yeah, this is shocking, but on the same point, when things like this come up, we need to be professional and put the facts out there. And if you know how I am, I like to know my facts. I like to go out there and be very upfront with everybody and tell you what I know. And I'm not allowed to talk to you guys.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you what Mr. Hurt told me yesterday. I called Mr. Hurt yesterday and asked him a couple of questions. And his very statement back to me was, Mr. Schroyer, if you don't vote for this fire fee, I'm going to resign. And I'm felt like, why is Mr. Hurt telling me what I'm supposed to be doing? So I was very, very confused at that time. When we're supposed to be working together collaboratively to make a move, to do something right, why was I being told what I'm going to do? And I was very hurt and disappointed and very upset with being pushed with this issue.
And I would reiterate on something that Mr. Holmes brought up, and that is, in the interim for filling the position, we would have to, I think, do a workshop to decide who we want to fill that interim position if this is the way the council decides to go. Instead of an instant relief, perhaps a plan, as we said, or as you said, to advertise and interview and get somebody in place. But it is confusing when one day it's one way and the next day it's always totally different. Mr. Hurt.
Yes, ma'am. It's obvious to me that you do not want my services anymore, I can see. I don't believe that statement is correct, Mr. Schroyer. I believe I told you that we need a fire fee or we need to raise the millage, because the rate we're going now, we're not going to be able to succeed in the future years. I just want to make a comment. You gave me a good review in October. You gave me a pay raise I did not want. I stood up here and told you I did not want it. If you have a problem with me, I've always said, come to my office and tell me, and we'll work it out. Did I not? Did I not? Anytime you've ever asked for anything, I've been jumped right on it and got it for you. If you choose that you do not want me to be your manager, then I will put in my notice effective tonight. I'll make it 90 days effective from tonight, and 90 days from now, I will quit this job. If that's what you want. But keep in mind, each one of you come to see me all the time, and not one of you have ever said you did not like my services to this city. You gave me the pay raise, folks. I didn't ask for it. You needed to make sure these people know that. I did not want this pay raise. But who's caught the devil for it the last 2 weeks? I have. Not any of you, just me. I don't think that's fair either. Okay, so if you do not want my services, then all you got to do is tell me, and I'll give you a 90-day notice so you can start looking for a new manager, and I will leave this city. But I think it's kind of strange that all along I've been your good manager, and now you decide you want to fire me. I don't understand that. I'm sorry, I don't.
Mr. Schroyer.
Mr. Hurt, I hear you loud and clear. And I'm not supposed to get involved with day-to-day routines, but there has been some employees in this district, in this office, in this building, who have been released of their duties when all of their previous evaluations have been spotless.
I'm not going to discuss day-to-day business up here on this because
Yes,
that's not,
sir.
I'm not supposed to. But if you would like to come to my office, I'll be more than happy to discuss day-to-day business with you, because that employee relations with the manager or the staff, I'll be more than happy to tell you anything you want to know about any employee in this city. Any employee.
Mr. Reinhardt.
This is not about the pay raise, folks. Not at all. Understand this. This is about years of bad, and I'm not saying exclusively Mr. Hurt's fault at all. And I'm saying that's not Mr. Hurt's fault in some cases. But this is bad city policy. I'll come back, and like I said before, we're not opening it, this is not open for public right now. We are not, if we do not bring commercial to this town, and if anyone up here thinks that you're gonna put impact fees on a business, and you're gonna put fire fees on a business, and they're gonna pay water impact fees, and all the fees it takes to get, we don't have the tax base. And basically what happens at this point in time is the citizens are gonna pick up the tab. If you put this fire fee on the way it stands, you will wipe out any growth in business. So we're at a catch-22. And what we need is a city manager with strong economic ties to try to develop the economic side of it and bring the economic side of it to this town. And it's just not here. It's not a personal grudge against Mr. Hurt at all, not in the least bit. It's the understanding that we are looking at you folks and saying we're gonna hit some of you for $186 a year. In some businesses, we're gonna double your tax. Because we got budget shortfalls. This is a policy problem. This is a policy problem that needs to be fixed. And I don't know if we've got 90 days, 6 days, because we're getting pushed to try to get this done. No, if we need to do this, we need to do this now. We should have, we should have looked at the future and realized that this is an economic decision. We have to take accountability. Someone has to make a tough decision to roll forward, because we need a person that's going to develop this and bring the business to this community. And it is not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. And we need to do it. We need someone from outside the area, maybe someone with contacts. It's out there. It's not about the measly little pay raise. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with getting that person, because when we get the new city manager in here, folks, you're probably around $200,000, because that's what the new ones are hiring in at. So that is the price to do it. And if someone here wants to do it, put your name on the application. It's complicated, and you gotta be certified to do it also. You know, so that's pretty much what my position on it, and I still called the vote.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes. How much does the city manager in Kissimmee make?
I think about
I
$140,000.
believe that's about right. And he is a very good city manager, and he's got a city twice this side, Jeff. And to be honest with you, I think there are great city managers out there that would work for that. I think Tom Hurt would have been happy with 140. Now, personally, I think that that was an excessive pay raise. I should have stuck to my guns. I brought that up in that meeting. That was one of the things that I talked at the thing where I made my mistakes. That was one of mine. But to do things the route that this is taken, to me, is just wrong. I'm not open or closed to this, but it's something that should be looked at, not just off the cuff after you've given somebody good reviews. You've asked for the higher raise, and now you're looking at $200,000 to bring somebody new in. I would like to, if you guys choose to relieve Mr. Hurd of his duties tonight, we need to put that in there, that we need to renegotiate that salary for the next person that comes in. I don't want to see somebody coming in making $200,000.
I'm fine with that.
And another thing I was thinking of, typically when we have things on the agenda, we open it up to the public. Is that something that we should or should not do
You
in
have
this
to.
case? I think that we should.
No, you have to by the public participation law.
And I want to weigh in and talk about the past several years. We're talking about bad policy and not bringing in business, and I want you to remember the businesses that are here, and the fact that for a long time, this city was working and keeping other people working when other cities were laying people off. The budget and the monies and the way they were spent, your raises weren't raised, or your taxes weren't raised, and the city still survived. And that was at the direction of Mr. Hurt and the staff. And the staff doesn't dictate everything that gets done. Things are discussed, brought forward. We have every opportunity to discuss more with them, and even council brings things forward at retreats and different things. We just talked about a priority list on some of those things that we did. I think that we need to keep in mind that the budget is not endless, or we would never have talked about other fees. And so to sit here and say, yeah, $200,000 right off the go to bring somebody else in, let's remember the processing fees and the advertising fees and the time it's going to take and staff hours to do that process and interview for a new city manager as well. While we're thinking about this, look at the whole picture and not just a small picture. And let's not vote on it on an emotional point, but on a business point. And that's what I would have to say. Your light is still on, Mr. Reinhardt?
No, well, and again, you know, I agree, and this has to do everything with economics. If we're looking to put a fire fee on, I think we need to make a change, and we need to make a definite big change and move it fast.
And we also need to remember that citizens, residents, are equal as important as the businesses in this community, because without them, the businesses would not have any customers. So let's keep that in mind while we're thinking too. Because a lot of people here have said, I won't go out and shop if I have to spend all that money on a fire assessment fee. That's why we're having everything that we discussed the other night reevaluated and looked at. The numbers on that fire fee are not written in stone, and it hasn't even been passed. We're continuing to reevaluate it. We have a window of time to do that in, and we're using it for that purpose. So I want the council and the citizens to realize that. But let's not take away from the citizens who work hard every day for this community and have lived here, some of them, for many, many years. It's not just a business community we have to protect. It's a citizens community as well, because without them, the businesses don't survive either. And with that, I would open it to anybody in the audience that would like to speak. Please approach the podium. Oh, you're in the front. Go ahead. We'll bring you up next.
Oh, yeah. Jerry Brown, 1116 New York Avenue. Oh, I love this. We were just talking about business. I'm a light manufacturer. We're the holsterstore.com. We're the nation's third largest holster manufacturer. You got 4 manufacturers in St. Cloud. I don't know if you know that. You've got Mercury Marine, you've got Ameritrail, you've got us, and you've got Sunbrella. Poof, done. 4 light manufacturers. How many of us do you think survive off of these folks' money? Of the light manufacturers
Of the
I
light
just named,
manufacturers, they
how
are
many
more
of our
international, that's
businesses do you
correct.
think rely on these fine folks' money?
Madam Mayor, just procedurally, the motion on the table is related to the termination of Mr. Hurt.
Not about that.
That's the motion that the public has provided comment on right now.
Yeah, I would.
If
I
we
would
got to
appreciate people
focus
to
in
keep
on this,
focused.
otherwise you're not going to have a good address on it.
Oh, I
That's what-
promise you I can tie that in. What I'm saying is, I love the people of St. Cloud, but if I had to rely on the people of St. Cloud in my light manufacturing facility, I'd be out of business at noon tomorrow. We're an international company. I would offer to you Mercury Marine is probably the same. And I know Ameritrail isn't rolling everything he's building over there in the community. He can't. That's what manufacturing is. And manufacturing is what you want.
And you're
Have
tying
anyone-
that in?
Anyone that has ever tried to come to this building to do something for their business would lose their cotton picking mind. The clown show that this man has in this building department, in planning and zoning, the absolute total disrespect those of us that try to own and operate businesses here are dealt with in these buildings, the way you rob us and refuse to cooperate with our businesses that are only providing living wage scale jobs to these folks in our community is absurd. I absolutely support Mr. Reinhardt, and I understand the need for expediency. Completely and absolutely support him. And I would offer to any council member, it's pretty cut and dry. You hear or you hear. I don't want to hear, I don't know if I really support this, or, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Don't be a marshmallow. Stand up for what you believe in. Do the right thing. Let's move this city forward. We have an opportunity to move forward in the right direction. Mr. Hurd's done a fine job for this community for a very long time. But you know what? We might need something fresh, something new. And the money for a good city manager, I think he's paid more than the one in Winter Park. Golly, why don't we make a phone call up there, see if we can't snatch Winter Park city manager? He's doing a pretty good job. Last time I walked down Park Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Denise Beck, 1124 New York Avenue. I support Mr. Reinhardt, and I was very proud of you. Felt kind of like you needed a hug, and I'm sure Mr. Hurt feels like he could use one about now. But I think that the words that you might have been looking for, in short, were economic inefficiency. And when you talk about bringing commercial into town or into St. Cloud, I would like it if we could say large commercial. Bringing in and allowing all these little businesses that pay minimum wage or just above minimum wage, we need for you guys to bring us businesses where they support higher salaries. That's not happening here, like what Jerry's saying. I own a custom framing shop. I bought my business at the onset of the downturn in the economy. Nothing in my store is a necessity for anybody. My business relies pretty much on the people in the area that have liquid cash, extra money to spend. Framing's not cheap. I've survived it. I actually paid taxes for the first time this year. I'm going in September. I'll be here 8 years. It took me 8 years to turn the corner in this town. It's been hard. I lost a lot on the way. I would love to see somebody manage this city that would like for us all to be as prosperous as they are. I don't want to see any more businesses go away or try to get started and die. So Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer Sharp, I'll use my business address, 4771 Old Canoe Creek Road. I am the person who 10 years ago tried to build the bowling alley on Hickory Tree Road. Among other things, part of what stopped us from doing that was the impact fees. Almost $1 million in impact fees on that building alone. If your fire fee goes through, had I built that 40,000 square foot building at 22 cents a square foot, my commercial building now is 10,000 square foot, my taxes will go from 186 to almost $3,000 a
And
year.
again, I'm going to remind
I know.
everyone that it is about the motion for Mr.
I
Hertz.
understand. I can tell you, in doing business with the city now, the emails that I receive from his office are arrogant. They're, Mr. Hertz said he needs this now. Mr. Hertz said he needs this now. Yes, there's a sense of arrogance, and Mr. Reinhardt is correct. This city needs businesses. And the route we are going is not bringing commercial business here, other than more pizza places, nail salons, and cell phone stores. So, yes, someone needs to be aggressive, and I don't know how long Mr. Hurd has been in this position, honestly. I live in the county, but yes, something needs to be done. Because I have a vacant piece of property sitting over there that I'm still paying for, that I can't bring anything to the city of St. Cloud or the residents. And there is nothing here for children to do in this city. We have one of the largest little leagues in the entire southeast. We have kids out here on these fields playing till 10, 11 o'clock at night on a school night because we can't build more little league fields. But we can buy property for a new police station, and we can annex all these other places, and so forth. So yes, I support getting a new city manager.
Thank you, ma'am. And yes, ma'am. You know what needs to be said first. Thank you.
Teresa Melhot, 2924 Coolbury Circle. I do not own a business. I try to do almost all my shopping here in St. Cloud. If I go out to eat, I try not to ever go to any other restaurant but one's here. If I need something, I try to find it here in town. Without people like me, there'd be no business. But I'm reminded tonight of the saying, act in haste, repent in leisure. I don't like anything that's done like under an emotional, right here, right now thing. I think it's not going to be the death, or the sky's not falling if we wait for 2 weeks to make a vote on this. Because people are upset. I think if the raise had been $140,000, the blowback would not have been as bad. In all honesty. Even I could not understand why that night, at that meeting, all of a sudden it went from 140, because I had the paper at home from the lawyer saying, recommending 140,000, that all of a sudden it jumped from 140 to 159,000. I did not understand that, how that happened. But I just think I think he's been in his job for a long time. I moved here, I was happy with the city, I bought a house here. My husband transferred to here. So evidently he's done something right. I know there's a lot of, I've not lived here that long, 5 years, so all these rumors, innuendos, bad blood, all this that we hear, I don't know anything about that. I'm just saying that it's not all bad. Do I think that we might need a new future financial person? Possibly, yes. I mean, this is a new century. He's been here a long time. That we could look, but I just don't think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater tonight. That's all I'm saying. We could take a little time to think about it.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Brooke Oberg, 1328 East Garden Villa. I'm in the county. I'm not city. I grew up here for 17 years until I moved away, and almost 2 years ago I moved back. And it really is a shame to see all the mom and pop places that were here when I grew up. They're gone. They're all gone. And this town still only has a Walmart? I mean, you want more business, more commercial. gas stations, banks, liquor stores, Verizon stores. That's not commercial. They're not going to supply the jobs. I can't get a job. Nobody's going to hire me. I can only work mother's hours. What does that leave me with for a job? I can't go to Publix. I can't go to Walmart. Well, I can go to Walmart and get an overnight shift. Who's going to wake up with my kids? Who's going to get my daughter to school in the morning? I mean, it's hard. Nobody wants to hire you with mother's hours. The only thing you can get is a cafeteria lunch lady. And then the schools don't even cook the food anymore because they're all brought in. So it's difficult. I mean, yes, we need more commercial buildings. We need more places to shop. I'm a Girl Scout leader. I lead 2 separate troops out of Michigan Avenue Elementary 2 days a week. And we have the potential to reach almost 9,000 children to give them Girl Scouts. And there really is nothing in this town for kids other than sports and Girl Scouts. Growing up, there wasn't a whole lot to do. I was in trouble a lot. Wasn't cool. BMX track was built. I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. And that's pretty much sitting empty now, too.
Ma'am, if you refer it back to the discussion, please.
We do need more commercial. We need something, and if somebody is willing to come in here and take a smaller salary than what anybody else around is paid, and that's what we need, then that's what we need to do. I mean, but I don't see the sense in spending all the money to try and find that person. It would be nice if we could find a local person that knows how to do that, but I know that's probably going to be difficult. So, well, it would be nice for local, because then they know.
Thank
And
you,
that's
ma'am.
all.